Whether you're watching this before or after OG Fortnite has actually launched, Chapter 1 Season 1 being back, there's been one thing that seems to have been dividing the community. Should Fortnite OG have the old movement? We all know that the new movement mechanics, not the brand new ones of Chapter 6, but the ones that were brought onto Chapter 3, are going to be in the OG mode. Is this right for Epic Games to do? Is it wrong? Today I am going to be giving my take on it. We're going to be taking a look at the Explore page, replies to Hypex, replies to myself, and we are going to take a look at what a bunch of creators and players both had to say on this. And as always, guys, I would love to know what you think about this down below afterwards. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. Guys, this is a toughie, okay? This is a real toughie because this is one of those things where I can see both sides of it. As somebody who has played in the OG days, I want nothing more than a one-to-one creation if they were to come back. Now, the problem is, what I actually want is not a one-to-one creation because I'm making exceptions, and I'm making the exceptions based off of what I want. For example, I love the new movement. If I'm playing OG Fortnite, I don't want the game to feel that slow, but then again, it's not a one-to-one creation, right? So I'm very, very conflicted in how I feel about this, and I understand if you're reading this or you're watching this video and saying, well, that's not a one-to-one creation. I know, but I want it to be as close as possible to the actual OG mode. If I was in charge and it was based off of solely what I wanted, I would have just about everything the same, except probably just the movement. That's off the top of my head, that's the only thing that I would change. It's a nice quality of life update. The reason that we think that we might want, or a lot of players might want, the old movement back is because we didn't know any better and we were fine with it at the time. Now the game's going to feel incredibly slow. I think that the vast majority of the player base is going to, or I mean, they would have realized that if the game was that slow, how much they would actually miss it. Now, here's the issue. You, specific viewer, might feel differently. You might legitimately love the OG movement, but we got to be honest here. The vast majority of the player base does not know what they want, and I think it's pretty fair to say that they would realize how much they miss that original movement. Now, another thing that I really want to point you to is Tricky's video. If you guys haven't seen Tricky's video, you got to check it out on the OG movement and his take on it, because he actually swayed me a little bit, and this caused us to talk about it in the stream a little, because originally I was sitting back and I was like, now we need the new movement. We need it. But the thing is, there are actually a lot of other points that make a lot of sense for the people who really do want the OG movement back. You can get into the whole conversation about like, well, Epic Games is trying to make it an easy transfer from the OG players to get back to Chapter 6, but there's also a bunch of players who really do want the old movement. And on the other side of the coin, you have all of these players who are so good now are going to see you walking really, really slowly and just be taking your head off, just sniping you right in the dome. It's going to be so easy. So easy. There are so many parts of this to break down. I don't know what side I'm on. I understand both sides, and I honestly think they're both correct in their own way. And before you start commenting down below, just in case you're brand new to this channel, we've been getting a lot more views on this channel, so the likelihood of you watching this video and you're brand new, welcome, thank you very much. But I've been getting a little bit of comments where recently there's been a few takes that I've had where I'm like, you know what, I get both sides on this. And then I get people commenting down below going, oh my god, I hate fence-sitting channels that just make videos about a topic and never have an opinion. Like, think for yourself, bot. And I'm like, man, if you're new here, typically, I have pretty hard stances on the things that I believe when it comes to this game, but for this, I legitimately am sitting on the fence because I do see both sides of this. This is one of those where I truthfully get them both. I personally don't know what's right. So what we are going to do is we're going to be taking a look at what a lot of people over on X had to say, from my replies to Hypex's replies to Leaker's replies, all the way over to the Explore page. We're going to be compiling them all together. By the way, guys, I ended up posting this on Twitter, and you can find, if you're interested, follow me on Twitter. We do this kind of stuff all the time where I'll quote tweet something and be like, hey, anyone have thoughts on this? Recording soon, but might use any replies in a video. I'll select some replies that might fit the video pretty well. Unfortunately, I wish I could use them all, but a lot of people end up saying the same thing, so it just kind of turns into something that, like the first one that I see about the same topic, and then I won't choose the other one. So I appreciate everybody, by the way, taking the time out of their day to reply and help make this video. It really means a lot to me from the bottom of my heart. It makes these videos really cool, so thank you for your time. Even if the video, I'm sorry that I can't use everybody's comments, but it does not go unnoticed. Thank you. You can follow me on Twitter at Clen YouTube, or you can find the link tree right below in the very close to the top of the description for this video. But anyways, guys, like and subscribe if you have not already. Let's get into what everybody had to say about this, okay? And I forgot to show Hypex's initial tweet. Fortnite OG won't have OG movement. You get it. Like, we all know what it's about now if you're probably watching this video when OG has released, okay? Let's get into the other replies. Fnatic Stallion had this to say, honestly, I think this is the right choice. People will want OG movement until they play it and realize just how much slower the game is with it now. Another thing, and I know I said this earlier, I just really need to reiterate for you. You specific viewer may feel differently. You might love the OG movement. You might love a slow-paced game. We're speaking in generalities here. Just because I'm saying something here doesn't mean that it applies to you. People are different. People like their own things, but I do agree with this for the most part. People will want OG movement until they play it and then realize how much slower the game is. I don't know about you guys, but the people that I'm around feel the same way, where anytime we play a creative map where it has that OG movement, where there's no sprinting, mantling, I think I said sprinting, but there's no sprinting, mantling, anything like that, I don't like it. It takes away from the experience. You guys remember when, I think it was, yeah, Atlas OG Battle Royale, whenever that came out and had the OG movement, I was like, oh my god, I am walking so slow here, and you're just a sitting duck for the players that are really good right now. I think people really would realize, just like how we're going to see with the double pump, people are going to realize why it was changed down the road. Let's continue on to what Dreamy had to say. How is it OG without OG movement? Now, you see a lot of people talking about this, and that's fair. If you're really bringing back OG Chapter 1 Season 1, it's not OG if you're bringing the brand new Chapter 6 elements, but at the same time, it makes sense for it all to come back. It makes sense to transfer everything over to the OG mode. It's something that I do believe it's probably the smartest thing on Epic's side to have everybody really running fast. I don't know, man. It's really, really tough, but you're right. It isn't exactly OG. JF Realms had this to say, what is the actual point of this though? Even if you absolutely love the new movement changes, surely having a single game mode where that's different is a welcome change of pace. To be honest with you, I personally wouldn't like that, but I don't imagine a lot of people really struggling with that. I get it from Epic Games' perspective. They want an easy transition to go from those OG players to Chapter 6. They want the game to feel similar. Is there enough people that really, really can't handle, and I want to say yes, they can't handle that change? I actually think so, man. I actually think so. I don't know if you guys are feeling the same way that I am right now. Like, again, I just see both sides of this one, man. There was a reply to this specifically, and I wanted to highlight this one for you. So Kenzie replied and had this to say to JFT. I'm not gonna lie, this is one of those things that people think they want, but after one game would hate. Slow walking around the map would be so painful now. I remember playing the Chapter 1 emulator and hating not being able to move fast. I felt that same way personally. There was a reply to that again. I miss pre-movement box and build fights though, and I'm not sure if there was an error right there, but anyways, with the new movement, it is an entirely different world, and it would be nice to have a game mode to go back to, even if it's a pain to move around. I get that too. I get that too, and a lot of people really do want that OG feel, and there's going to be a lot of people actually coming back for Chapter 1 Season 1, and then they're going to just, I could just see it, man. I know so many people like this, and we all know gamers nowadays and people in general how lazy they are and not wanting to learn new things, so reluctant. They're going to be like, this isn't my OG, and they're not going to play it. I can so see a big chunk of the player base with that being the case. Although it is an objectively easy thing to get used to. You guys remember how crazy it was when all this got added back in Chapter 3 Season 2? It was jarring at first, but the problem is that jar is enough to push people away. But I got used to it in like my second session playing, man. It was easy, so maybe that's what Epic Games was thinking. It is an easy thing to get used to, and I think, I keep thinking maybe it was the right decision. I don't know. Let's continue on. Cowboy from Hell had this to say, come on, when we ask for classic OG, we mean we want it to be the point where the game's so dialed down to the point where it feels OG. Like building and editing cooldowns, old gunplay, we want a mode to actually feel OG or else there's no point of playing it. I get that as well. I get that as well, but then you have to circle back. And how OG do you want it to feel? Do you still want the bugs? Do you want to play on Combat Pro? Do you want the no turbo build? That's fine if you do. It's just, I feel like a lot of people are picking and choosing what they want and don't necessarily know what they want. And I think throughout the 5 chapters that we played on Fortnite so far, one thing that we have learned is the player base does not know what they want. Let's continue on to Beeves. I know everyone thinks they want OG movement, but y'all don't. You'd enjoy it for the first few days because of nostalgia, but you'd be so pissed and annoyed when you're not able to sprint or mantle away from a team that's absolutely beaming you, and you won't be and you'd be begging for new movement back. That's actually a good point because you are going to move so slow, right? I already spoke about getting sniped in the face. Players are so good now. Are so good. At the time that you're seeing this video, I have not been able to play OG Fortnite yet, but what I imagine is everybody being fantastic at the game, or Epic Games littering OG mode with bot lobbies so this doesn't happen because everybody's so good at their guns. Everybody is so accurate now. And you're going to be even slower? That's crazy. Like, I really do believe that. You're going to be begging to run a little bit faster. DP Addict had this to say, I'm just wondering why movement is where they stopped with OG. Like, we have the OG map, items, glow on items, graphics, literally everything, but they drew the line at movement. I don't know if there's anything else. Like, do we have the old sounds? And again, I'm recording this before OG actually ends up launching. Do we have the old sounds? Do we have Combat Pro? Do we have no turbo build? And I'm sure there's other things that I'm not thinking of. Do we have to the point where the old glitches where you can like fly in the sky with a shopping cart? No, that wasn't an OG chapter. Sorry, that wasn't in chapter 1. But you guys, or excuse me, season 1. But you guys get the point that I'm drawing right here. It'd be interesting for an update from Epic Games' perspective on like how they felt about this. And I would love to know how they came to the conclusions that they did. 2D had this to say, all the losers complaining about this, if you want your precious OG movement so badly, here's the simple trick. Just don't sprint or mantle then. I understand this, and I understand this mentality for a lot of things, to be honest with you. Like, if you don't like it, don't play it. And at the end of the day, if you don't like it, don't play it. You're not wrong in saying that. But it's understandable to look forward to something like this and then it not be exactly as advertised, because Epic Games, like, we're going back for real this time. And they've said a lot of things that really made it seem like it was actually going to be a copy and paste of OG. I get the frustration then, but you also can't just, okay, I'm going to be the only person in the entire lobby out of 100 people. I'm going to be the one who's walking around with my pickaxe out just like this. That's impractical. It's understandable for people to be frustrated about this. Let's continue on. But then again, at the end of the day, man, if you don't like it, don't play it. I also agree with that. Luna had this to say, honestly, this is a good thing. Despite the map being noticeably smaller than the other maps, traversing the map still takes forever with just a regular jog. Sprinting and sliding makes movement much less painful. Very good point. Very good point. Would people really even enjoy, like, I would imagine, like, for the first day, maybe even the first week, people would enjoy running slowly, experiencing the map, exploring the map, going back to their favorite POIs. But what happens when they do all that and then they're left just walking so slow? And all of these games that have come out since have been super, super fast paced. So just gamers in general are probably used to moving pretty quickly. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a really, really tough one. Lit C had this to say, I've loved the movement of Fortnite throughout the years. Ever since sliding, sprinting, and mantling, I never thought it would get better. Lo and behold, Chapter 6 comes around with my favorite movement mechanics ever. I've had these for a week, and damn it, I want to keep them from OG. I get that. I love the new mechanics. And the thing is, it doesn't take a long time to get used to. It's very easy, and Epic Games did a fantastic job implementing all of this. Besides hurdling, like, what really has been the issue with anything that Fortnite's changed with moving? It's beautiful, quality of life updates that I don't know anybody that complains about them. Am I wrong? Like, maybe, again, when hurdling came out, people were doing it unintentionally. But I don't know, man. Like, I'm with Lit on this. I've loved the movement throughout the years. I think that Epic Games really knocked it out of the park. Let's continue on, though, to Radical Raptor. Personally, to make everyone happy, at least as many as possible, they should have done old movement in build and new in zero build. I can't remember who it was. I was just talking to somebody that I was streaming with. Sorry, if you're watching this video, I don't remember who it was. My apologies for that. I always like to shout out ideas, man. I feel bad doing that. I always like to say when an idea wasn't mine, but somebody was just telling me about this, and I thought it was a fantastic idea. Yeah, zero build didn't exist back in Chapter 1, Season 1. If they're going to add a brand new mode, plus, that's another thing, by the way. That's another thing. Everybody wants OG to feel exactly like OG, but everybody also wants zero build. Everybody also wants the zip line so zero build players can get up there. Are we changing the map up now? That's another thing, but I actually do like this. Have the OG mode be the OG mode, no turbo build, everything. But then again, I'm still drawing a line. I'm not playing on Combat Bro ever again. I'm not doing it. I wouldn't play. So there has to be a line drawn somewhere. It makes sense for Epic Games to draw a line. But in general, for the movement specifically, I actually do like that idea. Have all the new mechanics in zero build because zero build needs it. They can't even put up a wall. They need that new movement. I imagine this being very frustrating for the player base in general. Like, I get why everybody's a little bit bent out of shape about this, to be honest with you. Let's continue on to Envy Develops. As someone who started playing in Season 3, I don't entirely mind the whole movement of, OMG, it's not OG. Like, what did you expect? You want turbo building gone too? That wasn't there in Season 1. That's kind of where I'm at with it too. Like, I didn't know what to expect, but I also am not shocked by this, and I'm not outraged about it at all. I just understand the frustration. I don't understand the people going, hey, you know what? just insulting Epic Games, although we are seeing a little bit less of that, which is really, really nice. And again, guys, I would love for you to comment down below. I want to hear everybody's take on this. So, Cyan had this to say about it all. I don't agree with anyone that says that OG movement was better. Can't see it at all. Fortnite Chapter 6 movement is one of the most fun things ever. Can even be better, but it genuinely so good. Now, the new movement is better. It is better. But the problem is, people want the simplicity of the game, and I keep meaning to make this video. Fortnite was never simple. I will die on that hill. Fortnite was never a simple game, and people like to say, okay, well, the simplicity was great, and the simplicity means that I walked at 5 miles an hour. And I don't even mean to, like, that's not a dig or anything at the people who like that. Truthfully, I know that I just sounded, I don't mean it that way. The new movement is better. It just is. We have many more tweets to take a look at, though, guys, because we are not done with this video. We have a lot of takes because, again, you guys were awesome. You guys replied. Everybody gave their thoughts, and we have a grand video for you guys today. I want to stop you for just a second, though. As you guys know, I started a family now. I'm grinding as hard on YouTube as I possibly can to afford my wife and kid the life that my father provided for me when I was a kid. I want to do that same thing, so I'm grinding away on YouTube here, and I have been advertising my supporter creator code. So, guys, if you are not using a supporter creator code in the item shop, please consider using code Clen. The nice boost that we've gotten since I've been talking about this, it means a ton to me. I'll be transparent with you. Like, it's I've been getting an extra $100, $200 every month from Epic Games now, and it is so nice, and it helps so much. And life is expensive, man. It's just nice to get that little extra. So thank you to everybody who has been using the code. It means the world to me. Whether you think that's a lot or don't think it's a lot, it helps more than you know. So thank you very much. If you do not have a supporter creator code you're using in the item shop, please consider using code Clen. Thank you very, very much, guys. Let's continue on to the next tweet. Ham had this to say, this is good, because when you're switching from Chapter 6 and OG, it's always going to feel like two different games. Same movement keeps you playing the same, regardless if it's OG or not. That's the thing. But is it really going to feel that different? Like, it will, but it's not that bad to transition over, man. I don't understand these people. I also think it's cool to have, like, some certain movement in one mode and certain movement in another, but I do get that Fortnite wants to keep it kind of at the same level no matter where you are. The goal is to transition those old players who are coming back for OG, to transition them over into Chapter 6. But what about all the creative maps? Is it just Chapter 6 that they want them to get hooked on and then continue on with the game further down the road? That must be it, because I can't see them ever limiting that in creative, but then again, they're not limiting it at all, okay? Trickster had this to say, smart move on Epic, to be honest. Sprinting and sliding should be in the game at all times. The gunplay feels smooth with it, and keeping the move while healing is also something that should be in the game at all times. Without the gameplay, it will feel slow again. It's true. It will feel slow. There are a lot of quality of life updates in this movement, and I haven't even thought about that one. The healing while moving around. That's something that everybody has wanted for so long. People wanted it back in the OG days, by the way. People forget that. Everybody wanted it back in the OG days. They were saying that throughout the entirety of Chapter 1. Epic, why can we still not walk and use a big pot? But all of a sudden, people don't want to do that type of stuff. Just, it's the Fortnite community, again, being how they typically are. Sir Rifty had this to say, Dylan, excuse me. I can only really say that it's good this movement is still here. The player base is well adapted to it since its introduction. It also helps zero build players, especially on a map that is as open as Chapter 1 Season 1. I don't think I mentioned that. Yeah, the map is incredibly open. There's not a ton going on. You will get beamed if you are moving slow. But that's true. The player base has adapted very well. How many people do you know that really hate this new movement? I would go as far to say a good, like, 95-98% of the player base actually really adapted well, and quite frankly, enjoy all of the movement changes. So that was a really good point by Dylan right there. Let's continue on to what Sizzo had to say about all this. Totally fine with it not having OG movement, and I think it's for the better. Without it, zero builds would be a lot harder, and overall, the game would feel much slower. I feel like the only people asking for OG movement are the people who haven't played since Chapter 3 Season 2, and would probably only play for a week before giving up after realizing the player base now are just simply better than they were 3 to 4 years ago. That cannot be underestimated. That cannot be understated. Like, the players are infinitely better. Everybody likes to sit back and go, well, the simplicity of OG movement, like, I don't have to think about mantling, and I don't even mean to dog on the people who think it's complicated, okay? For the people who legitimately think, like, well, the game's gonna feel great, everything's gonna be slow moving, you are still going to get absolutely decimated, and it's going to be even worse with the old movement. That's fact. That one's absolute fact. I don't think people are really thinking about that, so it's a good point brought up by Sizzo. Ragnar had this to say, I think it's a good thing. I know some people who would have liked OG movement, but since the new movement is a core part of the game now, it'd be weird to not have it. It would have made games feel slower, and people would have to unadapt to it. That's an interesting point, because we always talk about the OG players having to adapt to Chapter 6. What about all the people having to unadapt? That's a good point. And to be honest with you, I would argue that it's more difficult to unadapt and play with the old movement than it is for the new players to just get used to some sprint, because everybody's so used to having all these complicated moves in there. I mean, they're not even complicated, but additional moves in their fights. I have a problem just transitioning from build and zero build because my instinct is hit B whenever I get shot, and then I oftentimes lose fights in zero build because of it. That's something that I have to unadapt to, and that's something that I'm still struggling with. That's something that I never considered. Very, very good point by Regna. Stellar Lime 911 had this to say: while I would have preferred OG movement, I play creative maps all the time. It's not that slow. Sprinting and sliding doesn't really break the experience for me, and I'm sure I'll love it either way. I just want to say I love that. I love the people, and we need more people like this. And I know you're going to comment down below and you're going to say something along the lines of like, well, that doesn't mean we have to accept mediocrity from Epic Games. We just have to accept the slop that they're giving us. No, I love when I see people just going, hey, I prefer this, but I'm going to have a good time either way. I share that opinion with you, Stellar. I share that opinion, and I really appreciate you dropping your take, okay? Twisty Chase had this to say: people would complain if it was slower movement after a few days. Quality of life features should carry through all modes, and I'm tired of it being associated with new Fortnite. The movement is just way better and a lot more fluid now. I don't know why everyone wants to go back. Yeah, it's true. Should we go back to quality of life features? There's a lot of things that Epic Games has patched up and worked on, and movement is one of them. That is, quite frank, it literally is a quality of life feature. I tend to agree that it should just stick around. I get the people talking about it being associated with new Fortnite, but I do think that Twisty is right over here. The movement also just flat out is better. It's better, it's more fluid, as Twisty put it, and I think it was a pretty good take. Let's continue on to what Josiah had to say. Would be fun to have it be as close to a one-to-one creation for like 1 to 2 weeks max. I think past that, people realize how abysmal the old movement was. That's true. People would love it for a selected time frame, and then they're going to get tired of dying, they're going to get tired of walking slow, they're going to get tired of being caught in the storm. It's absolutely something that would happen, and we've seen it with the player base before with things, right? One Nuke had this to say: with zero builds being added, it wouldn't make sense for them to not add the sprinting. It's considered a quality of life change, so it wouldn't make sense to remove that. Again, talking about the quality of life, I get that, and with zero build being added to the game, you're changing the game already with zero build. You're adding zip lines, or I would be shocked if they didn't add zip lines, but we're already bending the rules. Why not bend it for a quality of life feature that has done nothing but benefit the game? I'm still conflicted by this. I get both sides of this, and I do also want to, like, go check out Sharky's video if you have not, by the way, guys. But while we took a look at some fantastic tweets today, let me stop you for another second, because are you guys familiar with the Fortnite storyline and Hope and how she potentially may be on the map now, having a relationship with John Jones? Well, is John Jones the correct person? We don't know, because we recently made a tier list ranking all of the Fortnite storyline characters based upon how good of a candidate they would be for Hope in a relationship. I would love for you guys to check out this absolutely ridiculous video that we made. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you over in the next one. Take care, everybody.